Hey, welcome back. So we're going to look at again another portion of the Sermon on the Mount. And this comes after Jesus has said that statement, unless your righteousness surpasses that of the scribes and Pharisees, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. And what follows that is what he means by that. As he says, you've heard it was said, but I say to you again and again and again. I just took one of those. And then he goes to how we live this out in other areas of our lives. And so this is where our passage begins. Opening the word. Be very careful not to practice your acts of righteousness before men in order to be seen by them. For then what reward will you have with your Father in heaven? When you give, therefore, to the needy, don't sound the trumpet in the synagogue or on the street corner as the hypocrites do. They've received their reward in full. But when you give to the needy, do so in secret. Don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. And your heavenly Father who sees in secret will reward you. So that's just a really short passage. And it's about giving, right? Don't practice your acts of righteousness before people to be seen by them. For then what reward will you have from your Father in heaven? So it's this picture of how people in that era were practicing charitable deeds or giving to the needy. And apparently they did it with a trumpet blast, with fanfare, so they could receive the applause of people. And Jesus says, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. I wonder, what could we learn about Jesus that he puts giving as the first act to speak about out of this passage about living in a way that puts flesh on love, which is the most recent passage prior to this. What can you learn about Jesus that he emphasizes giving? And he emphasizes giving not to receive the applause of people, but giving to receive God's recognition, giving in secret. People pull this out. I know, like sometimes in the church, people are really concerned about letting people know what they gave and stuff. And I don't believe that that's what this applies to. But I think the whole reality is attitude, right? How do we live out who we are and what we do? And do we live it out in such a way that parades ourselves or not? I think the reality is we cannot live without saying something about what we're doing in our lives. But what can we learn about Jesus? That he says, when you give to the needy, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Give in secret, therefore, and your heavenly Father who sees in secret will reward you. Makes me wonder what I can learn about God. That God is aware of actions that happen even before I am, right? That like some of those charitable deeds that God remembers are charitable deeds I don't even remember. And isn't it true that God is, that I might learn that the character of God is such that he is looking at your life, at my life, to see how we are living out the faith in a way that brings honor and glory to him. I don't know what the reward looks like from God, but I do know that God is actively pursuing you today and inviting you and me to open our hands to the opportunity to give to those who need to be given to love those who need a word of love or an action of love, to be present to those around us. God is inviting us into that. As we look at the Sermon on the Mount, we're invited to be more righteous than the scribes and Pharisees who paraded their righteousness, who talked about their righteousness, who wore their righteousness, their actions that they felt pleased God. And God says, yeah, don't do it that way. Instead, live it from the heart. May you live yours from the heart today. I'll seek to do the same. Blessings on you, friend.